This video is for lab 2.3.3.3, building a simple network. First thing you want to do is open up a Cisco packet tracer window, which I've already opened. It's right here. Now, this lab, it's a simple network, so it's going to consist of 2 switches and 2 PCs. The switches are here, and it's a 2960. We're going to put one right here, and we'll put another one here. And then we want to go to End Devices, pick up a PC, put that here, another PC here. Now, on the Connection tab, which is this lightning bolt, you want to click on there, pick up the copper straight through, and come up here. It's going to have that little end on it. Come up here and click on the switch. You want to connect this to the Fast Ethernet 01, and on the other switch, you're going to connect that to the also to the Fast Ethernet 01. Pick up this straight through cable again, and we want to connect to the Fast Ethernet 06, and then we're going to come down here and we're going to connect it to Fast Ethernet 0. And on this switch, after we pick up the connector again, we're going to go, I believe it's 18 down to 0. Just like that. Now, these flashing little lights indicate whether you have a proper connection or not. Give them a moment and they should all turn to a green color. The next thing we want to do is we want to configure our 2 PCs. So we're going to left click on this, what says PC 0, and then we're going to come up and hit, we've got these tabs up here at the top, we're going to hit the config tab. Now the first thing I want to do is change this name to PCA. Then I'm going to come down here to where it says Fast Ethernet 0. I'm going to click on that tab, and it's going to give me the opportunity to put in an IP address, which is on the first page. And in this case, it is 192.168.1.10. And our subnet mask, if I click in that box, it comes up as a 255.255.255.0, which is what we want. Then we close this. We're going to set up our PC1. Again, hit on config, our name, and if I can do it right this time, PC-B. I'll go back and fix the name on the other one because if you didn't catch it, I put an equal sign. Then click on the Fast Ethernet. I'm going to come down here to where it says IP address, and the IP address for this one is 192.168.1.11. And again, click in the next box down or tab, and it automatically puts in the subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. Okay, and as I said, I'm going to go back and fix the name on this PCA, and we're going to make it right there. Back to, hit that, make that a PCA. Now, the next thing it says that it wants to do, which is step 2, it says verify PC settings and connectivity. To do that, we want to click on this desktop tab on PCA. And then we want to come over here and click on the command prompt. Once we have the command prompt up, we want to type in ping. And then we're going to type in the address of the PC we're trying to ping. or the switch we're trying to ping or whatever it may be, and that is 192.168.1.11. If everything is hooked up properly and working correctly, we should get a reply. It should be a fairly quick reply. And we go back to our C prompt. Now I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to open up PCB, again, desktop, command prompt, ping 192.168.1.10 to make sure it goes in both directions. And it does. So our connections are good, and we have data packets flowing from PCA to PCB and from PCB back to PCA. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do part 3, which is configure and verify basic switch settings. To do that, we're not going to console in because we're in Packet Tracer. We're going to click on our switch 1. It's going to bring up this tab. We're going to go to, there's two possibilities. We could go to config, or we could go to CLI, and we want to go to CLI. Now, once we're at CLI, we've got our little flashing cursor down there, and I'm going to hit the enter button, and it's going to come up and say switch. To do this work, we need to be in the executive mode, or exec mode, and to do that, you type in enable, hit enter. You'll notice now that the character at the end has changed from a point, from an arrow to the, I guess nowadays you'd call it a hashtag. My day when I was growing up, it was a pound sign. Anyway, be that as it may, at that point, we want to configure the terminal, and to do that, we've got to add another command to it, and that is configure terminal. And notice now that it comes up, it's going to tell you enter the config commands 1 per line, end with a control Z. But here you'll notice that now it says switch, and then it has config, and then the hashtag. That tells you, this config right here tells you what mode you're in enable. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to name the switch. To do that, we type in host, get rid of that, host name, S1. We hit enter. Now you'll notice that instead of having switch, it says S1, which is the name of the switch that we're working with. And then the next item, which is going to be step 5, we want to type in no IP domain dash lookup. Basically what that does is if you mistype something, it doesn't go off looking for a domain for that command as a domain name. Now, I can continue doing it this way, but what I have found is if I open a notepad, and I've already done this, if I can get to it, I can type all of my commands in, just like I have right here. Come in, do a Control A, which is going to highlight everything. Right click, do a copy. I can minimize that, close that. Now I can come in right here, make sure my cursor is sitting right there. Actually, I'm going to back out of that simply because I want to make sure that I am at, okay, I'm right there. Now I'm back to right here. You'll notice I'm back to my original caret. So now I'm going to hit paste. You'll notice now this first one's got the exclamation point. That tells the command line interface to ignore that line. But everything else, I've got my enable in, configure terminal, host name. And don't forget, we already changed the host name. So host name, no IP domain lookup, enable secret. This is enabling the secret password, which is class. That controls entering the exec mode. Then my line console is 0. Password is Cisco. I have to log in to do anything. Then I'm going to exit out of there. Then my banner mold, which is right, my banner, which is my, can't remember the term for it, message of the day. In this case, it's unauthorized access. Now you'll notice I've got a hashtag at the beginning and at the end. That delimitates, or yeah, that's the right term, delimitates the message itself. Then I exit and I copy my running config, which is what this is, to my startup configuration. And I'm all the way back to the beginning. Now, if I go right here and I type exit, notice it says press return to get started. Press return. There is my message of the day. And now it's asking me for a password to get into my control line interface. And in this case, that password is Cisco. Now I want to go into my executive mode and I type in enable. It's going to ask me for that particular password. And in that case, that password is class. Now I'm in my executive mode. And if I do a show running config, it will show me everything that it'll show me the configuration of this switch as it stands right now. Okay, and I'm back to that end. Now the next thing I'm doing is I'm going to do step 12, which is configuring S2. The easiest way to do that, and it's a step that I left out on the other one, is I'm actually going to change this name right here to S2, so that what you see on the screen is actually what the switch number is. Now I'm going to go into my control line interface right here. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to hit that, which is just the enter button that brings up this switch. I'm going to come back down to my text document, and I'm going to come right in here. I'm going to change that to that 1 to a 2. Then I will take, and again, Control A, Control C, select all of it, copy it onto my clipboard, come in here. I've got my cursor sitting right there. I'm going to hit paste. That should bring everything up. Host name S2, there's my host name, no IP domain, everything is fine. I come up to S2 right there. I'm going to exit, which should take me back to my, for lack of a better term, I'm going to call it the home page in the command line interface. Hit enter. It's asking me for my access verification, which is Cisco. And then to enable, it's asking for that password, which is class. And then I'm going to do a show run, or show running configuration, and it'll show everything that's completed and the attributes of your programming. You've got step 13 and then some reflection questions to answer, and you should be done with this lab. Okay, when you finished up the lab, close the window, and what I would do is I would come over here to my file. I would do a save as, find a place to save it. In my case, I'm going to put it on this thumb drive, and I'll put it underneath that, come up with a new folder, call it lab work. Open that up, and I'm going to call this 2.3.3.3, and I'm going to put my name. And then building a simple network. And if I have a choice, I want to save that. I would like to save this as PKA. I'm going to have to save it as PKT. Save that. And then when you go to submit your lab work, you could attach both your Word document that you've got your answers on, and you could also submit this PKT so that if there's any questions, I can pull up the PKT and look at it and see what you've done. And I think that'll be it for today.